Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Brajajana Jamana Tira Vanam Chadi Jamana Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Nandana Braja Janaran Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaran Jana Braja Janaran Yamanatira Vanachadi Yamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Charja Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Maybe you've heard the phrase before, reality distinguished from illusion. Sound familiar? That's our evening topic. It's from the introductory verses of the Bhagavatam, Param Satyam Dhimahi. The topic of Srimad Bhagavatam is reality, distinguished from illusion. And the illusion has the power to bewilder even the demigods, and what to speak of little old us. And the verses that I wanted to discuss on this topic from Srimad Bhagavatam is from Brahma's Prayers, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 22 through Text 24. 10, 14, 22, 23, and 24. Commonly, for most people, conditioned souls, most people are conditioned souls, reality has two main sources. The sense of reality is perception. So there's sense perception. That's reality for most people. And then how you interpret sense data very much depends upon the conception that you carry within the mind. So you reason, this experience is this and that experience is that, because you have a conception in your mind about this or that. Just like in science, there's data from an experiment, and one scientist will interpret the data this way, and another scientist, same data, will interpret the same empiric information in a different way, because the conception that one scientist has may be different than another. Not only may be, but will be. So interpretation of reality is going to differ because of the orientation of the mind or conceptions carried within the mind. And perception is taken to be reality. Common. It's not too difficult to understand all that. We accept our perceptions that that's real, and to us it's real. It's perceived reality. And then over a period of time, reality picture may change, although the picture may remain the same, or more or less the same, not exactly the same. Without giving too many everyday examples, worldly examples, there's another kind of reality, and that's a transcendent reality that's not dependent upon the senses or how you interpret the information that comes to the senses from the mind. And that's the liberated position of reality, transcendental reality. Transcendental reality is something that doesn't change. And what in this world doesn't change? Say it the other way. Everything in this world changes, it's transient. One thing that's unchanging about this world is that it's always unchanging. It's always changing. Asat. And in the language of the Vedic picture, Sat is distinguished from Asat. Reality is distinguished from illusion because reality doesn't change. You know, it's very obvious. Our real identity is we're spirit soul, and our real identity as spirit soul doesn't change as the body changes. And when the body is finished, spirit soul is still spirit soul. It's unchanging reality. And then that which is ruled, that which is resting in Brahman or Sat, it also doesn't change. Param Satyam, transcendental reality, doesn't change. So just these three verses help us understand Param Satyam Dhimahi, meditation upon the absolute truth, the unchanging reality. Spoken by Lord Brahma, who he's the firstborn living being, therefore he's known as Aja because he doesn't come from a mother, he just comes directly from the body of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Therefore, another name for Brahma is Aja. Doesn't take a normal kind of birth, mother-father kind of birth. That he's born directly from the body of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And the lotus that comes from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. From the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, that lotus and the lotus flower on top of the lotus stem is the sum total of the karma of all the living entities in the universe. That's a lot of karma, and it manifests from his navel in the form of a lotus stem, and then on top of the lotus stem appears the firstborn living being, the lotus flower, and Brahma. Brahma is one of the total living entities within the universe who is specifically qualified and then specifically empowered to take care of the secondary creation. Very capable, filled with Shrishti Shakti, or the Lord's creative potency. In that sense, he's as powerful as the Lord because he bears the Lord's creative potency. And he has supervision over the mode of passion which is needed, which is involved in the process of creation. He's the Guna avatar, in charge of the mode of passion for creation purpose. Series of events happens, and before he does his creation, he becomes self-realized. He realizes the personality of Godhead, who is his source, because that's something he was wanting to know. So he came to know truths about Govinda and Govinda's expansions and the fullness of the creation, even before there was the creation, found in his Brahma Samhita prayers, which we celebrate in ISKCON because Brahma is the original preceptor of our sampradaya. So the point I want to make is, he realizes Krishna, not has an idea about God, but he has detailed realization about Krishna in his mature realizations of the ocean of truth. Then he goes about the process of creation, and by the Lord's own arrangement, in each day of Brahma, Krishna descends into this earthly realm which Brahma creates only once in a day of Brahma. And as you know, that a day of Brahma is a long time, 1,000 yuga cycles, and plus an equal amount for his night. And one yuga cycle is 4,320,000 years, and you multiply that by 3 zeros at the end, and that's how long 1,000 yuga cycles is, very long. So during one of those days of Brahma, Krishna appeared. The 28th yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu, Manu number 7, Krishna appeared on earth. And Brahma wanted to experience Krishna's pastimes on earth. So he has the capacity. He came and he saw. And what he saw, the particular manifestation that Brahma made in this earthly realm in Vrindavan, was the very day, earthly day, that Krishna had killed Aghasura demon, and Krishna saw the whole pastime. In chapter 12. And after he saw what he saw, he was amazed. And then something happened. The Yogamaya potency of the Lord overwhelmed him a bit, and he started pondering, what's the extent of Krishna's mystic powers? I know I have mystic powers by which I can do mystical things, like build the universe, and many other mystical things that Brahma can do. And here's this little boy appearing in Vrindavan, just having lunch with his cowherd boyfriends. I'd like to see a display of his mystic power. So he made a mistake by interrupting Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. You know the pastime, he stole the calves because the boys were sitting having their lunch, and the calves were going here and there, grazing for fresh grass, and he just rounded them up and put all the calves in a cave. And when the cowherd boys who were having lunch noticed that the calves were missing, they said, "Oh, we have to protect the calves." Krishna said, "No, no, you just carry on with lunch, I'll gather up the calves." And so he went to gather the calves, and when he went to gather the calves, you know the pastime, Brahma he kidnapped the cowherd boys and put them in a cave and covered up the mouth of the cave with a big rock. And then he went back to the scene of the crime to see what Krishna would do. And when he went back, he saw the boys were having lunch, and the calves were grazing nearby. And he was quite surprised. So he went to the cave to see, were they still in the cave? And they were still in the cave. So when he went back to see what's going to happen now, what is all this? Krishna showed what we know he showed. He showed not only an identical likeness of each of the calves and cowherd boys, but each of the forms of the Lord. Each of those cowherd boys simultaneously manifested a form of Lord Vishnu, or Narayan, a four-armed, all-opulent Supreme Lord form, surrounded by the personified Vedas and all of their potencies, and worshippers worshipping them, and as many as there were calves and cowherd boys. And there's a lot of calves and cowherd boys. Because in an earlier chapter, in chapter 11, our acharyas give a really big number. When Krishna went to herd the calves in the forest, he would call upon his flute, which was the purpose of that, was to call the calves together. And there were a lot of calves. According to one of our acharyas, the number was too many to count, asankitaha, which is a really big number. Anyway, there were a lot of forms of Narayan, as well as simultaneously the cowherd boys and the calves, and the forms of Narayan, and all these personalities and potencies personified, singing his praises. Brahma fainted. And when he came again to external consciousness and stood up, he then saw the entire universe standing before him, or manifest before him. It doesn't say he saw the universal form, specifically like Arjuna saw, but he saw the universe. Now, look into the sky at night, and we don't see the whole universe. And that's just like the big bowl of the sky above us. That's just some of the planets that are within our purview. But we don't see it, all of that manifest in front of us. So what was that experience like? And then all of that was withdrawn. And there was Krishna just standing there with unblinking eyes, a lump of yogurt and fruit in his hand, smiling, looking at Brahma, knowingly having shown Brahma what he wanted to see. The limit is without limit. So then he offers beautiful prayers, and that's the section we're going to be reading from. And I'll read the first verse and then comment, and we'll carry on. Our topic is reality distinguished from illusion. He begins tasmat, therefore, which means he's continuing from some other realizations about Krishna, but therefore, this entire universe, which, like a dream, is by nature unreal, asat, svarupam, which by nature is unreal, nevertheless appears real. And thus it covers one's consciousness and assails one with repeated miseries, this universe appears real because it is manifested by the potency of illusion emanating from you, whose unlimited transcendental forms are full of eternal happiness and knowledge. So, among the services of Lord Brahma, one of the primary ones is constructing the universe. He's not the creator exactly, he's the engineer. And there are a lot of people in our community here, they have a profession of engineers, so you know what engineering is. But it wasn't just electrical engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and this engineering, and that engineering. It was all engineerings. And he was the professor or the dean of all engineerings. And he engineered or put the universe together based upon the plan of the Lord, the potency of the Lord, the ingredients of the Lord, and his self-knowledge, which all came from the Lord, and the impetus to build a universe. So he who is the builder of this universe is calling that which he built an illusion. So how do you build an illusion? Reality distinguished from illusion. How do you build illusion? Well, it's illusion in the sense that it's asat. It means it's temporary. And something that's temporary doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Many of you in our listening audience, you know that there's a school of teachers that says this world is false. Brahman is real, and this world is false. Brahman Satya, Brahman is reality, and Jagat is Mithya, it's false. So we don't say Asat means false, but it's illusion. It appears to be real. That's what illusion is. The appearance of something that it's not. That's the meaning of the word Maya. Ma-ya, that which is not. That which is not is illusion or Maya. So it appears to be real. Brahma created something. It wasn't false, but it appears to be it or reality. And it appears to be reality because there's a certain potency with the energy that Brahma used to create the universe that has a potency of illusion within it. Just like, for example, we may not understand how the sun can make a place that's impure pure, but there's a potency within the sun to draw the water from a puddle of urine, evaporates the water, goes into a cloud, comes down in the form as distilled rain. And then the impure place over there becomes sterilized by the rays of the sun. So we may not exactly understand how that happens, but we understand there's a potency within the sun to purify a place that may be contaminated. And so there's a potency, similarly, within Krishna that gives Brahma the capacity or the potency to create a universe that appears to be real. And it appears to be real because it's from Krishna's potency. That's what Brahma is saying. Within that, the absolute truth, according to the Vedic picture of things, the absolute truth, by definition, is that from which everything comes. So we would have to say that that which is the source of everything includes everything. Otherwise, how did it come from the source? The source must have everything within it. So illusion must be one of the potencies of Krishna because this world appears to be real. It appears to be real. And for that matter, not only it appears to be real, but that which is unchanging and permanent, like the soul, or the source of all souls and the controlling power of the Supreme, we cannot perceive it. And therefore, we question, is it reality? And for some people, atheists, there is no spiritual reality because they can't perceive it with their senses due to the potency of illusion. They can see what they can see with their senses. They can interpret the data with their minds, but there's no evidence, empiric evidence, that's compelling those persons to accept that which they cannot see or measure. And there's different ideas of that which you cannot see and measure or see the effect of. Like, for example, electronics. Who has seen an electron? But we know that there's electrons. Otherwise, how can you have a field of electronics or electrical engineering? So we cannot perceive the soul, but we know of the presence of the soul because of the potency that the soul carries or the absence of the potency of the soul when the soul departs. Now somebody else will interpret that data, the departure, the difference between life and death in a different way depending upon the conceptions within the mind. And depending upon those conceptions, there's a perception of life and death. And then that perception, it becomes reality. But it's not absolute reality. It's a perceived sense of things. So how do you get absolute reality? Like, how did Brahma get this absolute reality? Brahma got this absolute reality, or anyone else can get absolute reality, by this descending process. If Krishna pulls back the curtain of illusion, even for the creator of the universe, he's very clearly identifying the universe as illusory or unreal. Unreal not in an absolute sense, but in a absolute reality sense. It's not absolute reality. I'll read this verse again. It's likened to a dream. So we all know what dreams are because we've had dreams. And when you're asleep and dreaming, who you are and what you do during your wakeful state is not part of your dream. Rather, there's another identity that according to the dream you have accepted, and you're observing yourself in that other identity in the dream. You're the observer of what's going on in the dream, and who you are lying in the bed or wherever you took rest is over there. And then when you wake up, the dream person fades, and then you remember who you are. But that dream reality is not who you are, and for that matter, the awake personality who you think you are is also not who you are. Equally not who you are. There's another reality that's who we are, and that's the spirit soul within. So Brahma is the creator of this illusion, or the universe, which he's identifying as like a dream. There's the experience or the perception of reality when you're dreaming. The classic example Prabhupada gives is, in your dream, you may dream that you're a king. You're sitting on a big throne, and this and that. And then all of a sudden into the palace comes a lion, is roaring and comes running at you, and you scream and you wake up. There was no lion, and you're not a king. It's just a dream. But you scream because it appeared to be real. And you're perspiring, and your heart is beating, and then you wake up. It was just a dream. Brahma, the creator of this universe, or engineer of this universe, is identifying in his discussion with Krishna that this universe is like a dream. This entire universe, which, like a dream by nature, is unreal, nevertheless appears real. And it appears real because it's manifest by the potency of illusion. Just like the potency of the sun is to make an impure place pure. The sun doesn't become contaminated by contact with the impure place, rather, the impure place becomes purified by contact with the sun. Similarly, the illusory potency of Krishna makes this world appear to be real. I mean, it certainly appears to be real. If you stub your toe, you feel something, ouch, and it may throb for some time. It can be more than just throbs for some time. You can sprain it or break it, and it certainly appears to be real. Don't tell me it's not real. I feel the pain. So it feels real. Its perception is it's real, but in the higher sense, it's ephemeral, it's temporary, asat, it's unreal. And Krishna, this illusory potency is emanating from you, whose unlimited transcendental forms are full of eternal happiness and knowledge. So that's the reality upon which the illusion is resting. That's reality. Param Satyam. The transcendental reality, topmost reality. And upon that topmost reality, all other things are resting. Brahman is resting, the spiritual sky, the rays emanating from the body of Krishna and Krishna Loka, and for that matter, all the entities, all the beings within Krishna's abode, they're effulgent, spiritually effulgent. And then the cloud of the material energy is resting within that Brahma Jyoti, and then the planets are within that Mahatattva, the cloud in the vastness of the spiritual sky. And it's all resting on Krishna. The Brahma is now looking face to face at Krishna, the supreme reality. So now we're going to go to this next verse, that's reality distinguished from illusion, which we spent most of the morning class this morning in Chicago reading Jiva Goswami's commentary on. You are the one, Supreme Soul, the primeval Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth, and then His qualities, self-manifested, endless, and beginningless. You are eternal and infallible, perfect and complete, without any rival and free from all material designations. Your happiness can never be obstructed, nor have you any connection with material contamination. Indeed, you are the indestructible nectar of immortality. That's a nice phrase, isn't it? Indestructible nectar of immortality. That's reality upon which the illusion is resting. And the illusion, because it's temporary, it's extended, it's transforming all the time, and then it's withdrawn periodically, and then again resting period, and again extended. The cosmic manifestation is made, and all of its forces of time and movements of matter and cause and effect and so forth and so on. Very, very, very complex machine. And then again withdrawn. And all the things that are happening in between the cosmic manifestation and the destruction, and all the little increments of time passing in between, appears to be real. Brahma, who's just taking the responsibility of creating that universe, is really clear. It's illusion, like a dream, and you're the reality upon which the illusion rests, and you're eternally existing without beginning and end. The indestructible nectar of immortality, you're the supreme reality. Now he has seen that. Of course, he saw that even before the universe was created. He saw it again during his visit to the earth planet, when he saw Krishna manifest his mystic powers that have no limit. Now he's in very elevated and eloquent terms describing the absolute reality. Param Satyam Dhimahi. Now here's verse 24. Those who have received a clear vision of knowledge from the sun-like spiritual master can see you in this way, as the very soul of all souls, the super soul of everyone's own self. Thus, understanding your original personality, they are able to cross over the ocean of illusory material existence. So, for better or for worse, we've taken birth, and we celebrate birthdays, but it means the sojourn of another lifetime of implication in the complexity of illusion. And our mission is to cross over that ocean of illusion. And how is that made possible? It's made possible by the spiritual master, but the function of spiritual master is spoken of in it's very interesting language. Clear vision of knowledge from the sun-like spiritual master. The sun-like, a sun-like personality gives light from the sun. And darkness of illusion is dispelled by the light of knowledge. Jnana dipena bhasvata, in the language of Bhagavad Gita. Jnana dipa, the light of knowledge dispels the darkness of illusion. But where does the spiritual master receive that knowledge that dispels the darkness of illusion? It's from the light of as the light of the sun. It can be used to illuminate a place that's dark. So the source of knowledge, because the previous verse is, his body is indestructible knowledge and bliss. So by association with the personality of Godhead, one may receive knowledge and be able to transmit knowledge, which is sun-like and illuminates darkness. And then understand who Krishna really is. The reality is he's the soul of all souls. Now he's speaking in these terms as the super soul, the super soul of everyone's own self. But he's not just Paramatma realized, he's seeing Param Satyam Dhimahi. He's seeing the original personality of Godhead from whom the manifestations of Super Soul and everything else, all other expansions and incarnations and material energies and spiritual energies and everything else, it's all resting in this little boy standing before him. This is before the Govardhan Leela, so he's not even 7. He's 4, 5 years old. Smiling, cowherd boy with his flute in his hand and his lump of yogurt and fruit in the other hand. He is the source of everything and everyone. So that's reality. It's a reality that we do not perceive or cannot perceive unless that reality is disclosed. And prior to the reality being disclosed is the curtain of illusion has to be drawn back. And when the curtain of illusion is drawn back by the mercy of Krishna, and the reality is demonstrated, just like the deity curtain. When the deity curtain is closed, we can't see the deities, although we know the deity is on the other side of the curtain. When the curtain is drawn back by the pujari, then we can see the deity form of Radha Shyamasundar. And that's depending upon one's pure versus covered consciousness, one will perceive differently. The same object will be perceived differently. So to perceive reality, there has to be the light of knowledge, because otherwise we'll see through another filter, the filter of some kind of other conception, the conception within the mind, that's another illusory conception, seeing, perceiving, and interpreting the sensory data, whatever it is that says our conception of life says. So let's distill that down. The bhakti process, because that's so much emphasized in the whole of the Bhagavatam and so much emphasized in his prayers, the preeminent importance of the bhakti process to realize or connect with reality. Yoga meaning to link with the Supreme. So through the bhakti yoga process, one can link with the highest form of reality and see reality distinct from illusion. So for most of us, we're not there yet. Probably all of us, we're not there yet. But we're on the path of yoga that leads to reality. Of course, it requires some faith to walk on the path if you don't have full experience of the fruit of what it means to be on that path. But there's faith based upon the authority and the potency that's with that authority, the reasons why the authoritative Vedic literature is accepted, and the way to perceive that authority is through the line of spiritual masters. So we're on the bhakti path and getting little by little the curtain being drawn back, the illusory influences in our life being somewhat reduced, maybe back and forth a little bit, the sine curve up and down a little bit, but to some degree experiencing a closer picture of light or a closer picture of reality through the medium of the bhakti process. And that's how we can come through the authority of Lord Brahma. here speaking some verses, a whole chapter's worth of verses glorifying reality, the absolute reality, and the means to achieve it. The means to achieve absolute reality is through just exactly what we're doing, hearing, chanting, and describing. We spent half an hour this morning just going through this verse 23, each word taken separately with references, and these just are qualities of Krishna. Name, form, qualities, pastimes, his abode, his entourage, and all of those things that are of the transcendental nature. So just hearing his qualities being described as Brahma is presenting them. And our realization may be down here, but the potency is way up there. Just hearing these narrations, that's our means of purification, so that illusion can be dissipated and reality can be revealed. We're following the process with different stages of realization, each one of us. But we continue with it because there's faith. We continue, there's faith that's nourished because there's some realization, however modest, in our stage of spiritual practice. Some experience of a higher stage of consciousness, a detachment from the temporary and the forces of illusion that are abundant in the world around us. Particularly in the age of Kali, people just become mad. I mean, angry mad, but deluded mad, and do self-deluding things. People hurt themselves, and they hurt other people indiscriminately, abundantly. There's a lot of madness in the world. So we can receive the benefit of detachment from that madness in acting in our lives, and be able to be a resource to help other people who are subject to that madness by the very same process. Taking this sound vibration of hearing the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna, and propagating that, living it, remembering it, speaking it, distributing literatures about that, that give those descriptions, the name, form, qualities, and pastime, just like our deity here. You know, because of the COVID situation, we can't stay and invite hundreds of people to come and take darshan. But because there's faith that there's mercy to be received from darshan of the deity form, mercy to be received by hearing the description of Krishna's activities and his qualities and his pastimes and so forth. That we're engaging ourselves in the process. And it's just been given to us by this disciplic succession representatives. Receive it, internalize it, experience it, and grow with it, and make it available as much as you can to others. That's our lives as devotees, to make that connection with reality distinguished from illusion. So there's our topic for the evening. And we have a portable microphone. No, we have a cable microphone. So if there's anyone here that would like to discuss the topic a little bit, we welcome questions or discussion.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sorry. In the beginning, you mentioned about Lord Brahma. So, did I hear correctly? Was he under the Yoga Maya? Was he covered by Yoga Maya before he steal the calves?
Well, what do you think? Do you think otherwise?
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that question is because my understanding was that if he covered by Yoga Maya, he did kind of activity that not pleasing to Krishna. Because it's kind of not an offense, but it's kind of taking his friends and calves away from him. So that's the reason.
Well, okay. He's a pure devotee. So if pure devotees do something like what Brahma just did, since we understand he's a pure devotee, what does it mean when they do something that's like Brahma just did? He's not a conditioned soul subject to the four defects of a living entity. One of the four defects of living entity is make mistakes, or subject to illusion, or cheating propensity. So he's not subject to those defects. He certainly exhibited some bad behavior, which was an offense, a mild offense. I mean, a mild offense in the sense that he interrupted Krishna's pastimes and he kidnapped. I mean, that's against the law. To kidnap Krishna's associates, it's more than against the law. So it's unlawful. But in relation to Krishna, it's an offense. So how can a pure devotee make an offense? It's Krishna's sanction for that to happen and for a particular purpose. It wasn't that different than Indra, who was proud. Brahma wasn't proud. He was curious. No, you can satisfy your curiosity in other ways besides kidnapping Krishna's cowherd boys. So that why did he do that? Inspired by Krishna, so that a pastime could be performed, including the pastime where, for 1 year, Krishna manifested himself as each of the calves and each of the cowherd boys to fulfill the desire of the cowherd wives, the boys, his friends' mothers, and their husbands, so he could be their son for a whole year. And he could be the calf of the cows for a whole year because they had that desire. So Brahma, what I'm indicating here is, Brahma served one of Krishna's purposes by being covered the way that he was covered. So that's a Yogamaya type of covering, not a Mahamaya type of covering. In Brahma's case, it's not the same for us, but for Brahma, it's to facilitate Krishna's pastimes. And for us to hear his beautiful prayers. Therefore, Yogamaya, facilitating Krishna's pastimes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In the following lines for Prabhu's question, how do we understand Rajavas is getting covered? It's not like they're an illusion, but they're being covered from some aspects of the reality.
Who?
Rajavasis.
Rajavasis.
Yeah. Sometimes they are also covered.
Yogamaya.
Yeah.
That's how we understand it.
But they're not in illusion, right?
They're under Yogamaya. Is Yogamaya illusion or not? Yogamaya is illusion or reality? It's a spiritual illusion. They don't see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's reality. But by Yogamaya, that opulence of Krishna as the Supreme Person, they don't perceive. They're covered by Yogamaya. But it's a spiritual Yogamaya, it's not the other kind. That's a good illusion. It's a very fortunate, more than good, most fortunate illusion. And it happens only by Krishna's mercy that one may be covered by Yogamaya in such a way that will not be able to perceive Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but only as our dear friend, or beloved child, or dearmost lover. That's possible by Yogamaya. Go ahead.
This is a question from Sanchari from Houston. How do we balance the head and the heart as we progress through devotional life? Knowledge is power in the sense that the potency it carries opens the heart to remember our connection with Krishna. Yet, there is fear or hesitation to further our practice because we know this world but don't fully remember the other. So, our attachment to this world, even if it's towards the devotees, strengthens. How do we overcome this block?
The block is the block of fear.
The block of fear or hesitation to further our practice because we are familiar with this world but don't fully remember the other.
Well, that's not fear. I mean, I'm trying to understand the place that she's coming from. But if we don't remember the place that we came from and we're very much relating to the one that's here, it's fear to go further. Do you understand her question? Am I missing something?
Towards the end, what I understand is, Guru Maharaj, that she's saying that even within devotee, I mean, even if we are attached to the devotees, that could also be from the material conception. Then,
Well, okay. If it's vitaragavaya krodha, if it's fear of being a person in the spiritual reality, or fear if I become attached to a person, because in material existence or material illusion, I have attachment to persons. I better watch out for being attached to the deity or the devotees or kirtan or the Bhagavad Gita, because if I get attached, then it's just more of the same kind of attachment that I've had in illusion. Is that like that? Well, to me, it sounds like that's a trick of Maya. The trick of Maya is to keep us, Maya's purpose or function is to keep us away from Krishna. When we don't, we'll misbehave if we get close to Krishna. So Maya keeps us away. That's her function. But it sounds like that's a force of Maya, because the closer you get to Krishna, and your attitude is not a rebellious one, your attitude is a devotional one, then when you get closer to Krishna, you become ecstatic, not offensive or overly attached, attached in a wrong way, attached in a way that fosters forgetfulness of Krishna. So what I'm trying to say here is, it's that apprehension. If I get close to the devotees, or if I get closer to the reality, then I may mess up, or I may have some mishap. That's Maya's influence. So what to do when you're under Maya's influence? Go slowly and be guided by Guru Sadhu Shastra. Go slowly, proceed with caution, step by step towards the goal, towards the paths take you to a goal. We were visiting one place. It's a state park in Illinois. That state park's name is Starved Rock State Park. Have you heard of the place? Yeah. Starved Rock. I mean, it's an interesting name. But one of the features of that place is this waterfalls. That to get to the waterfalls, you have to go down, winding road, lots of mosquitoes, over a little creek, and this way, that way, and then all of a sudden there's this spectacular waterfalls that's coming from really high in the air and comes splashing down. And so I had no idea before we went there what we were going there to look at. But they were like, yeah, it's a really good place, you got to go. It wasn't like momentous. It was nice. It was, the sights of nature are always nice. It wasn't like spectacular, but it was nice. But before getting there, I had no idea, why are we doing this and where are we going? So it's back to her question. If you have you have some faith in the goal is to get close to Krishna, and as you get close to Krishna, you're a mixed devotee, so you're going to have some correct picture of Krishna and some incorrect. You're going to have some correct picture of what the association of devotees is like, and some incorrect. And it's going to be a mix. So as you're a mixed devotee going along the path that takes you to Krishna, just continue on the path that will take you to Krishna with trust in Krishna and the process, the path that you're following. Because many stalwarts have gone down that path, and they're not screaming in agony saying, oh, it was a horrible experience. It's a transcendental experience. It's like going to see this, waterfalls and this gully and valley over there somewhere. Many people had gone to see before us, and many people have gone after we went there. So that the path to Krishna has been traversed by great souls. They're reassuring us. We're mixed devotees, and so our attachments are going to be mixed because we're mixed devotees. Keep moving towards the goal, guided by Guru Sadhu Shastra. Yeah? Can we close that back door? Thank you. Yeah.
This question is from Balaram Prasad Prabhu. What should be our mood when we directly serve the deities, like deity dressing and abhishek, etc.?
Well, the teaching is reverential. Should be with veneration, awe and reverence. Prayerful, that is, we're being given an opportunity to directly touch the form of the Lord in a medium that makes it possible for us to perceive the form of the Lord. It's a merciful manifestation. So, prayerful to not transgress, not make offense against the Lord when we're not really qualified, but here we are. And in that humble and careful, trying to avoid offenses, trying to be respectful and serve pleasingly, that's the mood. And with some personal reciprocation, because it's a person who we're serving, you can anticipate there'll be some personal reciprocation of some kind. And, you'll feel something. You'll feel a little more pure, a little more clean, a little more purified, elevated in consciousness, at least momentarily.
This question is from Adam Prabhu from Naperville.
Okay.
I was reading that compassion literally means to suffer together. Is compassion an emotion of ignorance?
Yeah. The definition of compassion as suffering together is not a definition that I've heard, nor one that I resonate with. The one that I resonate with is there's three parts to compassion. One is cognitive, that is, you recognize, empathically, you recognize what somebody is going through. That's cognitive. There's affective. You feel something about what someone is going through. You're not suffering, you're feeling something about what they're going through. And there's a motivational, that is, you want to do something. So, cognitive, affective, and motivational elements. But it's not, compassion doesn't mean suffering. Compassion means those three things. Let's say, a physician, because Adam has something to do with a physician's occupation, right? Pratibhahu? Adam have something to do with the medical profession? Yeah. So, like a nurse. So, in the medical profession, you see people that are suffering. Compassion doesn't mean you suffer along with them. Compassion means you recognize what it is, you have some feelings about that, you want to do something. That's compassion. Okay? Anyone else in the room would like to bring something up? Discuss? Okay. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.